Hey everybody, welcome to Paint with Garibaldi. My name is David Garibaldi. And before we get into this Paint with experience, let's check out the supplies video just to make sure you have everything set up and ready to go. Check this out. All right, so hopefully you've got all those supplies or the closest to it. I'll just go over that real quick with you. So just make sure you have various brushes available. I've got a couple wide ones because we will be doing some different techniques that we'll use for that. And also I've got various small brushes. Again, if you have really any size, honestly, you can probably use your hands at some point. And then as for the paints, make sure you have the basic colors, including white and black. So basic blue, green, red, yellow. And again, that white and black, we're gonna use the white and black to create different values of all those colors. And we'll just mix those all together. I'm using a 16 by 20 blank white canvas. Hopefully you have something similar. I wouldn't go smaller than 8 by 10, but whatever you've got, just make it work. It'll just be fine. Also, I've got this red Solo cup full of water to clean my brushes. So I don't know, maybe you have something else nearby you can sip on. So make sure you have that as well. And see all these things over here? I'm actually just using the packaging of the paint as my palette. So this is what I'm gonna use to put my paint on, mix it around, and that's where I'll get it from. And then I've got some towels right here for cleanup. So that's all the setup right now. Hopefully you have that all ready to go. And now that you have that all set up, on behalf of our friends at Effectv, I just wanna say thank you. Thank you for the support for so long. And we wanted to provide and create this really unique experience for all of you, especially those of you in the West Coast Pacific region. And even the painting and the image will be inspired by, our region and our area. So I'm from Sacramento myself, so not too far from most of you. But let's get into this paint experience. Let's paint. My name is David Garibaldi. I'm a father, artist, and philanthropist. I'm best known as a performance painter, where I create large portraits in front of large audiences around the globe. As our world has changed, I've been able to create with my family doing paint nights at home. It also reminded me of how much creativity can bring us together. It also inspired Paint With, a virtual live paint experience. We're in this together. I'm gonna help you step by step, bringing your art to life. Get your supplies out and ready. Get something to sip on. Welcome everyone around you to our creative family. Let's paint. Now, before we get into this painting, I just want to let you know that down below on the screen, you'll see a progress bar. So this will let you know how far along we are so far, and just to keep that in mind. But we're gonna take our time. I'm gonna walk you through step by step. First things first, let's get some paint on our palette. So I'm gonna take the white paint first. Let's get some white. And we're gonna put our colors in order of imagining our sunset. Now, just so you know what we are gonna create, check out the image on the screen right now. This is gonna be the image that I'll be referencing to create this image. All right, we've got the yellow. All right, I don't know if you noticed, but we got some music playing in the background just to kind of set the vibe, set the mood. I'm not sure what day of the week you're doing this, whether it's a weekend or a weekday. I just hope you're enjoying the painting process. All right, so we've got that reference image on the screen. We'll be putting it up throughout this experience, but that is the image that I'll be referencing. But again, we're still gonna walk through this step by step. So first, let's do something really important. Let's divide our canvas into sections. So this will help me reference to you, what area to start doing this painting in. So we'll do one line just straight down the middle. Does not need to be perfect. We're gonna be painting over all of this. I'm using the yellow for this just because I know it's an easy color that we can easily paint over as we go on. So another line across the middle. We'll go horizontal. We should just have a T right through the middle. Now we're gonna do one more split in this section right here, as close as you can get to the center. And another one in this section down here. As close as possible. It doesn't need to be perfect. All right, now, once we have those lines on the canvas, let's go ahead and just put that brush in the water, and let's go for a little bit bigger brush. I'm gonna go for this wide one right here. You can get something similar. Also doesn't need to be that big, but let's go ahead and pull the white and the yellow to the right. Let's just mix those together. We're gonna start by creating our horizon. Let's get that white and the yellow mixed together. And we're gonna start right just above, not necessarily in the middle of this section, just above this bottom line right here. Let's just do a line, another line right across, and let's just fill that area in. So I'm sort of doing this technique, which is doing this X motion, back and forth. You can use whatever you're comfortable with. I'm gonna go back to the white and yellow. I'm just pulling it to the side. Really what we're doing is just creating a lighter yellow. We'll come back later on and add a bunch of different colors to this. Now, as we're doing this, I'm also gonna share a little bit about my journey, how I even got into painting. Normally, I'm not painting this calm and collected. I usually do these large pop portraits during live shows. Matter of fact, right now I am backstage while I'm on tour. So I'm on tour opening for the band Kiss, and I wanted to take some time out of the schedule to create this experience for those of you on behalf of our friends at Effectv. All right, so we should just have a solid area of a light yellow. Go ahead, I'm gonna leave it right there. Take your time to get that solid area of yellow filled in. All right, we're just gonna add a little bit more yellow now. You can actually go straight yellow for this one. And we're gonna go just over the middle and top of this section. So just straight yellow. Again, that same X motion back and forth. You know, painting is something that takes time. It takes a lot of practice, so don't feel like you've got it perfect. This is just one step closer to you becoming a better painter, an artist. I don't know, maybe right now we're waking up the artist in someone that didn't realize that they had this. All right, so we've got one solid section of yellow now. We're gonna leave that and let you catch up. All right, let's go ahead and now mix in a little bit of red, not a lot, a little bit of red into that yellow. You can even pull some of that white into it too. You just want a slightly more orange. That's what happens when you mix the red into the yellow, slightly more orange version of what we had before. And you can see this pattern. We're gonna start in the center, just do that little X motion. It should blend with the yellow if you're doing it soon enough. Don't wait too far in between. So when I'm doing these live shows, like I shared earlier, I'm on tour right now, I create these large 6-foot portraits in minutes to music. It's sort of a live performance, if you can imagine, a mixture of, I don't know, Blue Man Group, Andy Warhol, and a little Mick Jagger swag. That's how I like to describe it. But before all that, I was painting like this, and this is how I started, early on in my career, just taking my time, painting, doing a lot of fine art stuff. So I still love this process. All right, we're gonna go up one more step of color, and then we're gonna take our time, let everyone get caught up as well. So let's pull that red into the yellow just a little bit more. Again, we're just adding a little bit more red. Now, another technique to do this, instead of doing this X motion, which you see me doing, you could also just kind of dab it on the canvas, just hitting it on there until you feel like it fills it up. Use whatever technique you think works best for you. That's what I want to happen right now. All right. You'll already start to see your sunset come to life. This is the part where I want you to start just feeling that confident, where before you're probably thinking, I can't even draw a stick figure. Don't worry, neither can I. But right now you start to see a sunset. You start to see the yellow going into the orange, and now we're getting into the red. Again, I don't know what you're sipping on, but the more you sip, the better this may look. All right, we're gonna keep going across. Later on, I am gonna have an optional splatter effect if you wanna join in that later. All right, so I'm gonna leave this right here, let everyone get caught up. We'll play some music while we wait, and take your time. Enjoy the process. All right, so we're gonna do something a little special. Here's a little color trick. Let's get a little bit of white on our brush, just like that, and let's bring it up here, or I guess it would be down here, to the red. And I wanna create a pink, almost like a magenta. I'll put the brush over the canvas so you can see the color difference, but we're gonna go a little bit more pink as we get up higher. Now, you can see this, just a little pink right here. And we're gonna do one more layer of that pink right across. Now this should bring us up to this line right here. There you go. If you want to go a little bit darker, that's okay too. I'm going to add a little bit more red to that white. Again, it should be more pink than it is red. And just, I'm gonna go right over that line just so I know that I made it to the line. It's not a finish line, but it's a progress line. Just dab it on there, blend it. A little tip is if you want to create more blending, you could mix up one of these colors below, reapply it, and then add this color that we just did with this darker light, this darker pink, and it'll start to blend those colors together. So always, again, you go a color step down, reapply it, and then as you start applying more paint, it'll start blending together. All right, we'll let you guys get caught up. We'll leave it right there. All right, now we should have a pretty solid sunset with white sections on the top and the bottom. You know what, let's do this. Let's keep going up here because what we're gonna do is create a mirrored image of it down here, it'll all make sense later on. But to do this, let's get our blue and let's apply our blue to our palette. Oh. Go. All right, let's get that blue on the palette. And let's also go for a different size brush. This one, something in between, this is good. So I've got a flat one here. You can see compared to the size of the canvas. You can use a round brush, fine tip brush, whatever works for you. But I'll show you this technique first. We're gonna start blending some blue down in. So in the reference picture, you'll see it there on the screen. There's sort of a blue sky in the background and we're seeing these pink clouds. And we're gonna start putting that blue in the background. So let's get some white, mix it with our blue. This is gonna be a fun part. We're gonna start up here in the top right section in the middle. Let's just start pulling that down. Just like this. It can be around this shade of blue, it can be darker, it can be lighter. This is your world. Let's get that white in with the blue. And we'll keep filling in this top section. Now, the reason why I went with a smaller brush is because I'm gonna start getting into this pink and I'm gonna start separating this blue. So it'll make sense as we go, but there's a reason. I really truly believe in this idea of painting with a purpose. Now, that could be a mindset. It could be your intentions as you actually paint, the purpose of bringing an image to life, but it really makes you think about every brush that you pick up, every color. Just gives you a little motivation as you create. You can write that down, painting with a purpose. Now, speaking of purpose, as we're doing this, when I was 25 years old, I started doing these, actually I started when I was 20 doing my performance paintings. But when I was 25, I realized that these paintings were going for, tens of thousands of dollars, and we were raising hundreds of thousands of dollars by that time. And so I realized how unique this opportunity was, and I thought to myself, let's not just paint, let's paint with a purpose. So at 25, I set a goal to raise $1 million for various charities by the time I turned 30. This became my goal, and everything that I did really that purpose helped me decide how I spent my time, my resources, my money, everything, leading me towards that goal. So at that time then, it wasn't just going, painting along, doing live shows. It was about painting with a purpose that was bigger than me. So I'm 38 now, and we've since raised over $6 million for various charities through the performance painting that I get to do. I don't know, maybe some of you are thinking about where you can donate this painting when it's done, or maybe it'll go on your wall, I don't know. All right, so you can see we've got this top section filled with the blue. Take your time doing this. And then when I get to the red, it's not a solid line. I'm sort of just blending it. Doesn't need to be perfect. Just by little sections. All right, we'll go ahead and fill that in. And again, leave that bottom section very open and broken up, and we'll come right back to it. Take your time, enjoy the process of painting. All right, let's go ahead and put that reference picture on the screen. You'll see on the right side of that image that blue sort of comes in a little bit more. So we're gonna start adding some blue right there. And then after that, we're gonna start adding the clouds on top of that. So trust the process, here we go. I know you spent a lot of hard time on this sunset, but we're gonna go right over it. Again, just take a sip of whatever beverage you have. Hopefully it's loosening up the vibe. All right, so we're gonna start in this section right here. Again, imagine we had one straight line here. There's another one right across. So right in the middle section to the right, we're just gonna start putting some blue in. Just little tiny dabs of paint. Just like this. I don't want it to be a solid color either. We just wanna dab it on top because we're gonna come back with some yellow and some pink. Now, the motion that I'm doing this, I'm gonna show you on the front camera. This is, let's see, this is how I'm moving my brush. It's sort of what we call a controlled scribble. So kind of move it around in random directions, but it gives you more variation in the look of what you're painting on the canvas. So it's just literally controlled scribble. So we're just filling up this section. And then we're gonna go over here to the left as well. Do a little, we'll call this like an oval shape. When we're kids, even maybe as adults, you look up in the clouds and you see these different animals and shapes and things. I don't know, think about that as you're creating these shapes. Maybe it looks like an animal to you or someone that you know. All right, so as long as you have two sections like this down below in the blue, doesn't have to be exact. Again, this is your world, your painting. The next part, it's gonna bring it all to life. It'll all make sense. So go ahead and get caught up, enjoy the process, and let's get that blue on the canvas. All right, let's use the same brush that we were using, but let's clean it up pretty well. I don't know if we've really cleaned the brushes yet. Maybe you have. I know I haven't. So let's clean off that same brush. Use it on this paper towel I have. All right. Now we're gonna get some white and pull that white into the red, and we're gonna just create another pink. Let's just get a lot more available for us. So let's start up here at the top, and let's just start kind of dabbing in some clouds. Now, I'm really just dragging my brush on the surface. And there's really no set technique for clouds. It's whatever you feel. At some point, we're gonna pull a little of the yellow into it. So again, this is just gonna be very random. Our goal right now is just to put these pink clouds on top of our blue. Again, I'm doing that controlled scribbling. I'll show you from up above, this is what it looks like. It's just very random. And then in front of you, it's just like this, just super random. So again, if you're running out of paint, just pull some white, add it to the red. Okay. We'll go over here, we'll add some little wispy clouds. If you want it to blend more, if you feel like it's not blending, once you add more blue, let's make sure the blue paint is nice and wet, and then add that pink on top. And I'll put that reference image up on the screen for you so you can kind of keep looking back to it, seeing how you're feeling about it. Use it as a reference. Now, as we get closer to the colors down below, you'll start to see that these clouds are kind of coming together. Now we can also add some yellow into this pink as well. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna add some yellow. Pull it off to the right. And that way I've got a little bit of an orange now. And the clouds will be all sorts of colors. I'm putting some more white into that red. So really what I'm doing is I'm going back and forth between pink and then adding some yellow into that pink to soften it up. And just creating some clouds on top of the blue that we have there. Now you can tell a lot of my clouds are going up in this direction because I'm looking at that reference image and everything's sort of going at a diagonal slant. So that's what I'm referencing as I create these clouds now. So with this, I'm just pushing on the canvas. Doing this controlled scribble. Maybe try a few different brushes, see what works for you. I think I found one that works for me. And let me just note, as you're sitting there painting this along with me, this takes courage, and I admire you for that, for taking on this challenge. Painting is fun, but I know it also takes courage. So I just want to make sure you're recognized about that. All right, so I'm gonna leave this right here. Go ahead and take your time. Again, going back and forth between the pink and the blue. We just want it to feel like there's different colored clouds up above. So go ahead and take a look, enjoy the process, take your time. All right, let's go back to that same brush that we were using. Clean it off really well because we're gonna do some of those cloud techniques. Just a couple more of those down below. This time we're gonna add a little bit more yellow to those clouds. So we'll add some yellow to that pink. And by the way, you can pause this video at any time. Obviously there's no music when that happens, but you can also just take your time as you're learning these techniques. I'm mixing yellow with the red and a little dab of white as well, just to soften it up. There we go. All right, so down below, we're just gonna continue these clouds. Just going up in that. Now, as the clouds get more into the distance, they sort of get smaller. So you can do smaller clouds as we get lower on the page. You can see these lines techniques that I'm using right now. Just sort of slowly mixing. And I can still see that yellow coming through. So we still want to see some sky. We don't want to completely cover it with our clouds. Just you can put a little Bob Ross reference here, a happy little cloud. Maybe we'll add some happy little trees later on. All right, it's coming along. I'm gonna go ahead and wash that brush. Now, this part is optional. Maybe you're still working on your clouds. These are for those of you that are feeling a little bit more confident right now. I'm gonna add some of these yellow highlights to the bottom of the cloud. So imagine the sun is in the distance and it's shining just a little bit of light on the clouds. So what I'll do for that is I'm gonna add some white to my yellow. Just over here on the palette. And then I'm gonna add, you'll see these like little ripples almost. Think about like ripples in the sky. This gives the illusion, again, there's no rhyme or reason to this, just adding a little bit of light hitting the bottom of those clouds. This part is optional. It's been a while since I painted clouds. You guys are bringing me out of cloud painting retirement over here. You can just imagine that sun coming up here. You know, let's just do a little bit more up here. Look at that. I'm really starting to understand Bob Ross's calmness. This is just a calm, cool, soothing experience. Just add that yellow as you please. Don't worry, you're gonna, if you're not already mad at me now, you're gonna hate me later because we're gonna be painting a beautiful Golden Gate Bridge over on top of all this hard work. So again, enjoy the process. That is part of it. All right, so go ahead and take your time, work on those clouds. I'll break down what we've done so far while you're getting caught up. We've got our solid sunset in the bottom. We started down here with a light yellow. We added some more yellows. We went up, some red and some orange, just to get the solid normal sunset in the middle. Up top, we added a solid blue, but we also blended it down just a little bit. And then we started moving that blue around down below, off to the left as well. And now on top of all that, we're adding our clouds by using the pink color, a cloud, just moving it all over the canvas. And it's all these layers that build up that we're really creating an illusion of a sunset, an illusion of clouds. But all this is just paint on a brush moving across the canvas. So take a look at that. We'll leave it right there. We've got the reference up on the screen as well. You interpret it how you want, sip your beverage, and we'll get right back to this.
I've never really been the one who's worried.
All right, welcome back everybody. So let's go back to our larger brush, and we're gonna mirror. For the rest of this space down here, we're just gonna mirror what we already did up above, just a smaller, shorter version of it. Now let's get that wider brush. If you're using a larger one earlier, let's get that wider brush. Let's clean it off. Now, I think you guys did an amazing job on the sky. I can only imagine how amazing it looks. This next part down below will be obviously the base for the water, and let's get started. All right, so let's start with the yellow and the white mixed together. I'm still working on quite a small palette right here, so you really don't need a lot of paint to get this done, at least for this size canvas. So let's start here, got that light yellow, and we're just gonna start going down below, a mirrored image of what we've already done up above. If you end up getting some yellow into your clouds up there, that's okay. You wanna just add some, blend it up above. Look at that yellow, go back to your palette, get some white, mix it with the yellow. And let's just start adding that first. And now, as we go, the next step, we're gonna add a little bit of red to that yellow. It'll create sort of a really soft orange. And actually this time, you know, instead of doing the X's, let's do these brush strokes that go across like this. Just from right to left. You can go back and maybe blend it like this, but let's do this back and forth. We'll add a little bit more. As we go lower, we'll add a little bit more red. We'll start in the center. You want to do this while your paint's still wet on top so that it blends easier. It's not that you can't blend it later, it's just that that will make it a lot easier to do. All right, so since we're mirroring this, we are going to add some blue now down below, just to reflect the sky. You can use the same brush if you want. Just dab a little bit of white on the edge, pull it down here to the blue. just keep blending away right and left. Hopefully that yellow line disappears that we put on there. If it didn't, just add some more paint. I'm going a little bit thicker on the blue. There's a big moment coming up, and we're gonna have a little sipping celebration in just a little bit, because once you have fully filled up your canvas, I think that's a moment that we should all celebrate. Think about this: when we sat down, this was a blank canvas. And look in front of you, no matter how you feel about it, you still filled the whole canvas. And that's something to feel accomplished about. So congratulations. If you have something to sip on, congrats. Otherwise, there we go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this brush back. Take your time just to break down what we just did. Down below in this section, we are mirroring what we did up above. So we started with the light yellow, we added some red to that yellow, we got a little bit more red, and we got some blue to reflect the sky up above. So I'll leave this here. Enjoy the process. Let's go. All right, let's keep moving along. Let's go ahead and grab a brush that we were doing that blue up in the sky with. Let me show it to you. Let me just clean this off real quick. So for reference, check out the size of it. Now, the one thing I love about the Bay Area, San Francisco, California, is these beautiful rolling hills. It's not the mountainous ranges like we see in the Sierras, but there's still this, there's a lot of variations in the coast, and I want to just do a little bit of that in the background. It'll establish our horizon and also give us a great place to start working from. So to do that, we need to mix up a sort of a purple color. To do that, we're gonna mix a little bit of this red. We're gonna pull it all to the right on our palette, grab some blue, mix that blue and red together to start to get a purple. And then we're gonna add just a little bit of white to it, not that much, just that much. See, it's on the tip edge of the brush. I'm just gonna lighten that purple, but it's still dark enough. Now, for reference, when we did these lines, this section down here is our water and our coast. So let's do this. Just right about here, let's just dab on a little line. Just drag your brush. Doesn't have to be a perfect line. Just drag it across, just like that. It's not perfect. And then check out the image on the screen as a reference, and you translate in your style what those coastal mountains look like. I'm just dragging my brush. Maybe yours looks a little different. These are those Bay Area coastal mountains. I'm sure there's an official name for it, but based on the reference image, I think that's Sausalito on the other side of the bridge. Now they can get smaller and smaller as they go on to the right because it does go off into the distance, but I still want you, let's give it a little bit of a mountainous feel to it. You have to remember in any drive you took over the Golden Gate Bridge or along the coast, and just as you're creating those lines, just envision what those mountains look like. Now, as you get that one line in, let's just fill this in. Does not need to be perfect, but it does need to be filled in. Now, there are some artists who are very, very much perfectionists when it comes to their techniques. You would say I'm a lot more looser when it comes to my painting style. So if you want to later on go back and add some more detail, for me, I like to keep my paintings loose. I think it's more so about how you move your hand rather than how you fill things in. All right, so we got a little a little coast there. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there for your reference. And as you're painting, envision those San Francisco Bay Area coastal mountains right by the sea. All right, now this is the fun part. I hope you're starting to really see some depth here, which means you got your clouds up overhead, imagine them closest to you, and as they go off into the distance, they get smaller and smaller. We've got this mountain range, and now down here in the water, we're just gonna add some details which are to reference that there's some distance in the water. So we're gonna use you can use a thin brush, maybe something like this, or you can use something like this. I'm gonna use this one. Let's change it up. Now the same color that we used for the mountains, let's go ahead and mix that up again off to the right. That was just some blue, some red, and then we added a touch of white. So we just picked that up with the edge of the brush. If you need to darken it, just add some more blue to it. Probably make it a little bit more purple, which is perfect. Now, we're gonna do some lines across here that mimic the movement and the texture of water. Just lightly back and forth. Now, we are gonna come back and do the same thing with the yellow. So, don't try to make this perfect yet. We're gonna go back on top. Now, the lines up here on the top, let's make those lines closer together. And as you start to come down further on the canvas, we'll spread them out more, and that'll give the illusion that there's distance and depth here. Another little trick too, while you're painting, is that, objects and things in the distance will have a lot less detail, and then as you get closer, you can add a little bit more detail. And also, maybe there's not like a hard line in your coast. Maybe it's sort of blended together. I'm gonna blend mine a little bit. It's up to you how you wanna portray your coast. But we'll start with these lines here. You can bring them down as far as you want, do as little or as many as you want. But we'll leave it right there and let everyone get caught up. Enjoy the process. All right, let's go back to that same brush. Where's it at? There it is. Wash it off. We're gonna go completely opposite color right now. We're gonna go with that lighter yellow. Let's go ahead and mix some yellow with the white. And now we're gonna do the same technique, smaller lines up here, further as they get lower on the canvas. But this time with that touch of yellow, which is that light starting to seep through. You can do as much or as little as you want. This just shows the texture and the movement in the water. Now, a little trick that I'm doing is I'm actually doing the movement, and then as I'm doing that movement back and forth, I will slightly push down and make contact with the canvas. So if you can pick up on that, I'm just moving it and then eventually making contact with the canvas. You won't get it exactly right the first time, but this is one step closer to getting it right at some point. At least that's what I tell myself when I'm painting. Now in the reference image, it seems as if there's more sunlight on this left side right here. And so I'm gonna add just a little bit more yellow over here. Maybe I'm blending it too, but again, we're just giving that illusion. Now, those of you who are getting caught up on the ocean right here, on the water, you can also, once you're done, or if you're already ahead, you can go up to the top of your mountains. Just add a little dab of that light yellow as well, just to show that that light, the sunset, is just kissing the top. Just slightly kissing the top of those mountains. We'll leave it right there. Go ahead and get caught up, take your time, and I really want you to appreciate this part because we're gonna be painting all over this. We've got a beautiful bridge to paint, and that part's gonna take some courage, so you might need a sip for that. But check out the reference image, check out what we painted so far, and take it all in before we get to one of the last parts. All right, are you ready for this? I don't know if I'm ready for this, but this is one of the hardest parts. When you spend so much time, especially on this, on the sunset, the clouds, the mountains, the sea, you're like, this is it, I'm good to go. Maybe some of you are done. You wanna pack up the paints, pack up the brushes. It's okay, I don't blame you. But for those of you that have the courage, and those of you that understand we've come so far, that this is what's gonna really bring it to life. This next step is for us. So there's no easy way to do this besides just following along step by step. But you got this, I promise, you got this. You know, let's change the pace of the music. Let's get something a little bit more upbeat, just to lighten up the vibe, and we're gonna get into this next part. Let's create our Golden Gate Bridge. All right. So to start, let's actually not do the red yet. We're gonna add those as highlights later. Let's create more of a silhouette. So something that's backlit, it's just gonna be the shadow of the bridge, and we'll add our highlights later. So let's pull in some of that red and blue, mostly blue. And at this point, if you have black, let's just put a little dab of black on the palette. Got these brand new paints, so I've got to take the foil off of it. I'm going to put this black to the right of my palette, just enough, and I'm going to pull just a little tab of black, a little dab of black, not a lot. I still want to see, I still want to feel purple. All right. So as a reference, we're gonna put a little mark on our canvas just so that we know where the center is. We're gonna do it on our little coast right here. So this is about the center. So I want you to do one little line right there, just so we know what the center is. So once you do that, we're gonna do this very slowly. But to the right of that, we're gonna go and do one thin line. I know, it takes a lot of bravery to do this. All right up to there. Now imagine we have our center line here, and just go right about there, between the center and the top. That's where I want that one line to go, just like that. We're gonna fill all this in later. These are just techniques that I would use if I were painting this, say for a client or a commission. Okay, so we've got one right post of the Golden Gate Bridge. We're gonna go just to the left of that. I'm looking at the reference, so don't worry. Hopefully I'm steering us in the right direction. We're gonna go up with another post, but this one's gonna end just short of it. It should have a little bit of an angle like that. Maybe go up a little bit more. There we go. You can even do an angled line like that. We'll do another one here. Another one here. And one more here. All right, we're just putting in the structure of this thing. And let's just, now that we have that there, let's just paint in the base of this. I want to come down into the water so we know that it's not on the coast. It's closer to us. Matter of fact, you can get some of that purple and the black, and you know what? Remember those lines that we did? You can just do some of those lines down below. All right, let's leave that. It should look like a ladder. It should look like a really unstable ladder right there. Let's go back into the distance. So right about between the end of the canvas and here, we're gonna go right here, and let's create two more of these posts. This will be the other side of the bridge. So one post, it goes up right there. By the way, my bridge is gonna be a little curvy. I just wanna add a little style to mine. You can do the same. I'm gonna go up a little bit higher. Go up as high as you feel like it should be. And at the bottom of that, I'm gonna put another little base. There we go. Put some of those lines, there we go. And we'll do one thin line at the top. We'll do another one. All right, so should look like two unstable ladders standing up in the sea. Let's go ahead and get that down, and we'll get to the next part soon. All right, here's the fun part. So now we're gonna give it some perspective. About midway, actually about near the top of this ladder, let's go to the left, right here. And this is where it's gonna have to be creative. It's not gonna be an exact straight line. You wanna give some perspective, but imagine doing this line. Let's see, I'm gonna start back here. Just like that. That is gonna be the main part of our bridge. All right, now I know that was a big step, but let's do another line like that. We just wanna give this bridge some depth, so we're gonna do another line. It's a little below that. And as it gets in the distance, it's gonna get closer and closer to the original line. So it should look like this. It should look like almost like a beam that's just shooting out. All right, so once we do that, we're just gonna do a couple more lines. Looks like there's some, look on the reference image, there's some trussing on the bottom of the bridge. Let's just add some lines for that. Do another one. You can be very, very suggestive. This is not architectural painting. We're just enjoying the process. Once you get all that done, we're gonna fill in this middle section, and also we're gonna thicken some of these sections on the Golden Gate Bridge. And just look at the reference image for what you want to interpret it as. All right, let's paint. So growing up in Northern California, I'm from Sacramento. I grew up in Sacramento. I've had countless trips over this bridge. I know we have a reference image up of it, but I could, I'm sure I could just, all of us have these different versions of it in our minds. So it's very nostalgic to be painting this. As you're painting it too, don't forget, if you run out of this purple color, we're just creating a silhouette right now. Add a little bit of black to it, so it's blue, red, and add a little bit of black. And we are just filling in this beam, which is really the road part of the bridge. And then we're gonna fill in the sections up above, the two middle main sections of the bridge. Right. Now I'm going to go with a different brush to do this. I'm going to go with something a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner. I'm just going to start adding my interpretation of this Golden Gate Bridge. All right, so down below we've got some bigger beams. That image should be on the screen. And while it's there, just keep looking at it. Keep thinking about how you want to interpret it. So after we get it filled in, just to look ahead, we're going to add some details in it with that iconic red color of the Golden Gate Bridge. But we want to get a solid silhouette first. All right. This is definitely a challenge for me as well, so don't feel like you're alone in this. I normally create figures and portraits, but rarely do I ever paint objects or structures like this. So this is all new to me. Another little technique I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush in some water, because I do want to get more solid lines. Something with acrylic paints, as they start to dry on your brush and on the canvas, is they start to create more of a grainy look, and you don't get as many solid colors. But if you see what I'm doing here, I want that really solid edge. So let's see if I got that reference. I want this to be your interpretation. All right, so I've got one part done right there. I'm gonna go back to this other one in the distance. I may need to change my brush. Actually, no, I'm just gonna use the edge of this brush. There we go. It's getting a little messy back there, but it's all right. You get the idea. I'm going to skip ahead now. Remember these? We made those lines right there, and there was some truss coming through. I'm just going to add some suggestions, some lines right there that suggest that there's trussing there. I'm gonna get a little bit more water on my brush, dip it back in the paint, and that way I can get more solid lines. That's if you want solid lines. All right, I'm gonna leave this right here. Again, does not have to look exactly like mine, as close as possible from your imagination. I want you to just translate this. But this is one of the hardest things to do on this painting so far, believe it or not. But go ahead and take your time. And after this, we'll add some highlights to the bridge, and then we're really, really, really close to the end. All right, this is the fun part. We're gonna bring this bridge to life. So let's get that smaller brush that we were using, just wash it off a little bit. And let's add some red. We may need to add a lighter version of this red, but we'll start with the red. All right. Then we're gonna add the bridge lines last. I wanna save that for last. But for now, just add some highlights on your bridge where you think they should go. So this bridge starts to stand out. So just dab them on there. Let your shadows do a lot of the work. You see, I'm not filling it in. We did a lot of the hard work by creating a silhouette. This part, this is just, you know, where we would imagine some light hitting it. I'll go back, add a little bit back here. Not too much. And then we can start adding I'm just looking back at the reference sometimes. Don't be afraid to do that. Now I'm going to add less and less detail in the parts of the bridge that go off into the distance. Because what I mentioned before was that objects that are closer to you will have more detail, and then objects in the distance will have a lot less. Just gonna kind of scribble those in. There we go. All right. So add your details to your bridge with the red, and then the very last part, we're gonna add those iconic bridge lines. I'm not really sure what they're called, but we're gonna add those. And that's gonna be, we're gonna have to build up our bravery for that. So get caught up, take your time, enjoy the process. We are almost done. Okay, so you can do this next technique with either a flat brush like this. You can use a thin brush that looks similar to this. It's really gonna be based on your comfort level, but there's a trick or technique I wanna show you first before you get into it. So what we'll do is we'll use the darker purple. So that's the red and the blue mixed together with a little bit of black. But for this, we're gonna dip, I'm gonna bring this water a little closer. We're gonna dip it in the water. so that we get a solid line. That water basically fills in the space between the brush and all those little crevices on the canvas. Now this line, looks like it almost goes down, the first one, and then up above. So let's try this. All right, I didn't breathe when I did that, by the way. All right, we're gonna do this next one right here. Other side, there we go. Ooh, that is nerve-wracking. All right, let's do a couple more of these lines and go off into the distance. I'm looking at the reference, I just keep looking back at it. And we're gonna dip down. You can lift up off the surface as you get further back. Just one little, again, the further away we go, the less detail you'll need to do, but just one nice thin line. Same thing for this side. And then, this is the fun part. There's no set amount that you need to do. It's really whatever you're comfortable with. Just do these lines. Now we'll try to make them as straight as possible, but however it ends up. I'll make sure we get lines on the other side. Go. All right, I'm going back to my paint, back to my water, just to dampen it just a little bit. Getting those lines in the background. Let's do the ones in the back first. And as we go into the distance, the lines just get smaller, they get closer. Go. All right, so go ahead and add those lines. We're gonna do one little technique to this to really bring it to life, and then we will be all complete and your masterpiece will be done. All right, so one last fun section of this. This is gonna be a fun part. We're just gonna add some highlights to the bridge. So imagine that sun coming back up from the distance, and we just wanna add some yellow highlights. Actually, no, I'm gonna go with a smaller brush over here. Just get that white and yellow mixed together. I think I need to wet this brush a little bit. All right. Now, on this bridge, I'm just gonna do little dabs of highlights. Use these to connect sections that may not feel connected. Do it on the bottom of the bridge down here. Whatever you see fit. I've got one last part. This part is completely optional, but being a performance painter, I like to throw some paint. So I'm gonna put a little bit of paint on my fingertips. I'm gonna move it around in the water a little bit and just gotta get a little bit of splatter on there because otherwise it just doesn't feel right. Just a little bit. One more. Little set of spines. Just dipping my fingers into There we go. Our masterpiece is complete. And I don't know if you've ever painted before, if this is your first time, if you've painted multiple times, but I just want to say congratulations. You did it. I don't know where this painting is going either, but I hope you hold it in, put it somewhere with some pride. You should be proud of this piece. Also, you can do this painting over and over again. You can watch this video, maybe try it again, try it with more family and friends. It's totally up to you, but remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. All right, congrats, that's it. You're all done. Take a breath, take a sip of your beverage, whatever that is. And I just want to leave you with this last message, and that is to do everything with paint. Passion, action, intent, new, and to teach. Starting everything with passion, with what you love, putting that action behind it to bring it to life. The intent, what I talked about earlier, painting with purpose. Those intents and the purpose is what really fuels you through the really difficult times, bringing your passion to life. The new situations that help you grow, that self-inflicted growth, and of course at the end, to teach and to lead based on your knowledge and experience. And the beauty about painting is once you're done, you take that canvas off, you put a new, fresh one on. So let's hold up these paintings one last time. Take a look. Great job again. Once again, my name is David Garibaldi. On behalf of our friends at Effectv, we just want to say thank you for your support and everything that we've done together. And so you can follow me on social media at Garibaldi Arts. You can follow my journey on there. But until then, thank you everyone at Effectv. I had an amazing time painting with you. Thank you.